Hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on BIM and virtual reality. I'm Lee Jones from NBS, and we're joined today with Enscape, and we're going to discuss the power of visualization. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. All attendees' microphones are muted. Any questions asked throughout the presentation or afterwards will be recorded and followed up after the webinar. If anybody would like to speak to anybody from NBS with regards to any opportunities after this, existing customers, please speak to your account manager. Or if you're a new customer, please find out more at info@thembs.com. For any opportunities or inquiries relating to Enscape, please visit www.enscape3d.com. Okay, so your presenters today are myself, Lee Jones. I'm the Head of Manufacturer Solutions at the NBS. And we also have joining me Gemma de Silva, who's the Marketing Manager for Enscape 3D. Just to run through who NBS are. NBS are an RIBA company. We are a technology platform that connects the construction industry. Our customers are from both the specification and contracts side of the sector, but also the construction product manufacturing side as well.
Hi everyone, it's Gemma here. So just to give you an idea of what Enscape is, it's a real-time visualization plugin for BIM software, and it enables you to create your own renders and virtual reality experiences that help to communicate your design vision in the highest quality, yet with as few steps and as little time as possible. We're based in Germany, we're a global company, and one thing that we're pretty proud of is that 85 out of the top 100 architectural firms are currently using our software.
Thank you, Gemma. So everybody, just to run through what we're going to cover today. Firstly, we're going to give you a brief history of visualization. We do have quite a mix of attendees today. These are a mix of architects, designers, contractors, government sort of bodies, and also manufacturers as well. So for the architects and designers on the call, apologies if we seem to start a little bit with the basics. But we just want to set the scene before we start talking about how BIM and virtual reality can empower the sector that you're working in today. So we're going to cover that brief history of visualization. We're going to discuss BIM as a game changer. Gemma's then going to give us a little overview of Enscape and what the requirements are for VR. We're also going to discuss how you can communicate your design intent with virtual reality in a much more informed way than you may have done previously. And we're also going to discuss some additional benefits and what the future holds for this type of technology as well. Okay, so just to begin, visualization, a very, very brief history. So what is architectural visualization? Well, in layman's terms, this is simply a generated image of a building, a structure or space. The visualization's there and it's intended to communicate how a building will look once built. And often this can be in its surrounding settings. This is the basic function of a visualization. However, there are in fact a lot more items that can be attributed to this as well. An architectural visualization should tell a story or effectively sell a dream. Designers have previously spent countless hours perfecting this technique, and visualizations are used for multiple aspects, from showing the end client how their purchase will look, to aiding planning approval, right through to advertisements on hoarding promotions. These are often seen around sites to acclimatise locals to how the latest development is going to fit into the neighbourhood, but also to sell those luxury apartments or those living spaces or office spaces that people are trying to promote. Well, it all began with drawing. Now, this can be dated back way more than sort of 4,000 years ago. And really, this is what we were talking with paintings, where people used to depict agricultural settings or building settings. And these have been found throughout history. The ancient Egyptians were really seen as the sort of founders of true sort of architectural planning. But then this has then progressed throughout history through Gothic architecture, Renaissance, and then with the Baroque period evolving that art and starting to show more sort of shadow effects, three-dimensional elements towards how buildings and designs are going to look. It was really in these later parts of history where perspective really began to come into the process. Then, in the 80s, things moved to computers. With implementation of CAD, designs became much quicker, much more accurate, and it opened up a whole new avenue for people to explore with regards to design. This was a big development, and obviously AutoCAD was something that a lot of people were used to. And then in the 90s, this went 3D, which started to advance how visuals and items and design intent was communicated throughout the whole industry, whether this was in architecture or even different sectors such as automotive or aerospace. 3D drawings have been used quite heavily for a long time now. There's also the 3D model. So one issue, particularly with drawings, and especially 2D and 3D sort of visualization, is if it's something that you're not particularly skilled with, thinking maybe here of the end client, understanding how your building's going to look once it's complete from a 2D drawing can be quite complex. Some people struggle with the 3D design element, and actually transferring that 2D detail into 3D can be quite complex. So people started to build models, and this can be traced back, again, quite a long time. But we've got an example here on the screen of the great model of St. Paul's Cathedral. With the implementation of CAD and then 3D printing, this kind of technology has moved on. The modeling techniques were a very, very high skill, and it's something that's regarded with quite a sort of romantic sort of vision, but unfortunately is a skill that's starting to become quite obsolete with the implementation of this technology. However, producing these models at scale with high accuracy in such a fast pace of time is something that's a clear benefit. And then the limitations are quite sort of unlimited to the person's imagination. The little image that we've got here on the screen is a full-scale 3D printed model of London, which anybody can readily go and see at the Building Centre down in London. Well, that's a quick history on the visualization side of things. I'm going to now talk to you about BIM. And BIM really has brought 3D to the masses for the architectural and construction community. Now, one sort of misconception about BIM is that it's something that's quite new. In reality, it's been around for about 50 years. It's thought of that Professor Chuck Eastman in the United States coined the term in the 1970s. But it wasn't really until the 2000s that Autodesk seemed to grab hold of the term BIM, and then Graphisoft, who produce ArchiCAD as well, also then started to use that. From 2011, the government in the UK announced that BIM was going to become mandatory on public funded projects from 2016. And then today, BIM is very much business as usual. NBS conduct a lot of research on behalf of ourselves, clients, and industry bodies, and even governments as well. And we generate the National BIM Report every year. And last year, it was shown that around 70% of the industry are now using BIM in most of their projects. And around 69% of respondents look for manufacturer BIM content to actually create these models with. There's also a common myth that BIM is only used for certain project types, whether projects of high value or these public funded projects, which is possibly something that the mandate for the government actually is misconstrued slightly. If you look at some of the statistics, again, that came from last year's BIM report, you can actually see that BIM is used across all sectors. So whether you're designing or procuring or actually producing products that go into these different sectors, BIM is something that's going to impact you more and more as time progresses. So why BIM? Well, firstly, it offers cost savings. Through being able to create projects faster, more efficient, and with less errors, this ultimately saves money across the project timeline. It also offers sustainability benefits. So being able to calculate things such as passive measures, calculations on heat loading, energy consumption, etc., through the data that's embedded in these BIM models is allowing us to produce more sustainable buildings, helping us to reduce that carbon footprint, reduce water consumption, and generally operate in a much more sustainable manner. There's then the traceability element. We hear a lot in the press about the golden thread of information. This is something that NBS have recently done a lot of work on, and we did a webinar recently, which is available to view at the nbs.com. The golden thread of information is going to be a mandatory requirement, particularly on high-rise buildings and buildings of multiple occupancy moving forward. And this is totally reliant on BIM as the cornerstone and that information being shared. But then keeping on the theme with this webinar today is visualization. Being able to communicate design intent in 3D, realizing things such as clash detection, being able to actually see what the building's really going to be looking like at a one-to-one scale in its real environment is helping to make decisions in a much more efficient way. We then only have to look at digitalisation as a social impact. So most people listening to the call today, I would pretty much guarantee everybody has got a smartphone either on them, in the pocket, on the desk next to them. 10 years ago, this technology wasn't used and didn't really exist to the mainstream, and now most people can't get along without them. Live streaming, in the current circumstances, I'm pretty certain that these live streaming sites are actually reaping in a lot of rewards of many people being at home, but it's just how we go about our daily lives. Right through to ordering food, whether it's apps on your phone or the touchscreen menus within restaurants. Digitalisation is just the norm, and it's now becoming more and more expected. Which leads us onto the generation game. So Generation X, any of you born before 1980, you grasp this technology generally, and there's a lot of people that are moving advanced with this. But the millennials, digital expectation is just there. It's not always necessary, but it is expected day to day. But for future generations, and we can see here, this is Dakota. He's 6 years old in these images. Absolutely obsessed with the game Minecraft, which bears a lot of similarity to the 3D BIM software that we use today in the construction sector. Can game in virtual reality environment, download 3D building constructions for the construction block sets, which ultimately result in this finished object. Now, this isn't something that this generation's taught. They can just do it. And in 10 years' time, this is going to be the customer or the workforce that we're dealing with. So digital technology for this generation will be an expectation. They won't know any different. And we need to make sure that we are geared up as an industry to actually keep this moving forward and embrace this tech, and also to attract the workforce into the sector that is currently at a little shortfall. One last common misconception for anybody that's new to BIM on the call, BIM is a process. It's not just about 3D models, though that's what this webinar is quite tailored to. And it's not just a file type or software. You might hear of RFAs or Revit or BIM models in the industry, but the 3D software is a tool that is part of the BIM process, such as an oven is to cooking, for example. It just allows you to do a certain aspect of that process. So when we talk about the 3D BIM software, there's a multitude of different options that people can go down, and deciding on which one they want to go with is usually down to a number of different factors. It could be the end client requirements. They might want a specific project delivered in a certain format. It could be down to your hardware, whether you're using a Mac or PC, could make you decide between using ArchiCAD or Revit. It could just be personal preference. It could be integration with other software that your business has or that your clients have. It could be down to price. There's a multiple set of different reasons why people choose to go down different routes with the software. Some examples of BIM design software is Graphisoft's ArchiCAD, Autodesk Revit, and Nemetschek Vectorworks. These are all quite commonly used throughout the industry. The commonality between all of these, though, is that these produce designs three-dimensionally with the ability to produce high-quality renders. Now, this particular image that we can see here could have been created by an interior designer. It's an architectural practice, when in reality, this was actually created by myself when I was a manufacturer. All of the products that you see within this image are library components for Revit that have been downloaded from the NBS National BIM Library. And it was done to communicate the design intent to an end client of how a bathroom using certain products was going to look. So visualization can help both specifiers, but it can also really help the manufacturers. It allows you to provide content in the formats that your customers need, but also allows you to communicate this design intent. So on that note, NBS, just to talk a little bit about where we've been on the BIM journey. NBS, the National Building Specification, has been around for around 50 years. It was 1973 when the first specification templates were published to the industry. But for the past decade, we've been heavily involved in BIM and constantly evolving our BIM tools and integrating with different platforms. In 2011, we launched the NBS National BIM Library, which today is the UK's most trusted and used source for BIM content. In 2015, we were appointed by the government shortly before that, and we launched the NBS BIM Toolkit, which was to help the construction sector adopt Level 2 BIM and to format projects to BIM Level 2. A big part of this was the implementation of Uniclass 2015, and really that is the big success story that came out of that project. NBS authored Uniclass 2015, and this is now a worldwide adopted classification system for construction products, systems, and elements and entities. In 2019, we launched NBS Chorus, which was a cloud-based spec tool, or is a cloud-based spec tool, and this integrates with the BIM software. So whether you're using Revit, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, you can actually assign the specification in the BIM model. So all of your 3D geometry is completely aligned and tagged to one another, ensuring that golden thread of information is maintained up until the construction phase. And then today, 2020, we've recently just launched NBS Source, and I'm going to touch a little bit on that in a moment. So NBS plugins integrate with all of the relevant design software. Most of these plugins are free to download. Some aspects of the tools do require subscription, but if anybody has any interest in these or would like to know more, please just drop us a note after the webinar. A little bit on the National BIM Library. So this has been around now almost for a decade, and NBS felt that we needed to rejuvenate this alongside some of the other platforms that we had. We get a very, very high number of manufacturer object downloads every month, and year on year, this has been increasing to sort of 18 to 20% user base each year for the duration of the life of that library. So that's the National BIM Library. But today, I'd like to introduce NBS Source to you. Now, NBS Source is a new platform for construction products and construction product information. This will replace our IBA product selector, and it will also replace the NBS National BIM Library. Though for a short period, we will be running the National BIM Library and NBS Source in tandem for a number of reasons based on some geographical constraints and also certain plugins that people are using. We don't just want to switch these off to cause any disruption, but this will be phased out, and NBS Source will be the true platform for BIM content from NBS. So here's a little demonstration of NBS Source. Anybody that uses Chorus will see that it's got a very familiar user interface, and we're giving it the tagline, find, select, and specify. You can browse by manufacturers, you can browse by categories of products. We've got a whole ream of different information from featured manufacturers, case studies for people to look at, featured products, and even a lot of technical and helpful information on BIM and different topics surrounding that criteria. You can then search through a lot of different product information. But the cool thing with this is that it's actually linked to NBS Chorus. So if you're using the NBS spec tools, you can actually assign these products direct to your specification within Chorus from Source. This particular example, we're going to look at a hand dryer. And you can see there that we've just searched generically for hand dryer, and it's brought in 130 different options, all manufacturer-based content, all with structured data, and many of these with manufacturer-led BIM content. Just to give you an example, we're just going to show you that you could actually search for specific product types here. It might be that you have a product in mind. And what we can see here is a description of that product from, in this case, Dolphin. We've got spec information. We've got the BIM object, importantly for this, product literature, and also case studies if you want to see where this type of product's been used before. And then all of that data structured in a Uniclass 2015 template format. This is going to allow people to make decisions on the products they want to use and ultimately being able to drop those in their models for the visualization section moving forward. For any of the interior designers on the call, this might be a big benefit to you. We have some enhanced case studies in NBS Source. So this will detail what the project was, who the manufacturer was of the products, the particular architect, when it was published, and the sector it was used in. In this case, we're looking at a hotel and leisure sector product. And you can see here it's anti-coat flooring. These are demonstrating some really high-end and very nice-looking flooring systems here. Great quality high-res images to help you make a decision on how things are going to look. And then importantly, to help you do your visualization, you can actually select these products because they're in the NBS source library, or you could click compare or add them to your favorites tab for later consideration. Specifiers, that's an overview of NBS source. NBS source is designed to give you full reach across the whole of the project timeline. Whether it's 3D BIM geometry or structured product data, there's something there that impacts each of these different elements of the Reba Planner works. But ultimately, we've got BIM content in there from thousands of manufacturers. So to do your visualization, you can find pretty much everything you need within this one source. Manufacturers, if this is something of interest to you, this will be certainly something that will raise the credentials. We can help you get in the model. We can help you raise your profile and ultimately get specified with that exposure to hundreds of specifiers, hundreds of thousands of specifiers even. This gives you enhanced data, allowing you to meet the current regulatory changes, gives you better control and management of your product information, but also as a result of that, will give you some insights through the analytic feeds that then come back from this. Okay, that's enough about NBS. I'd like to hand over to Gemma now, who's going to talk about Enscape and demonstrate some really, really cool stuff. I've previously been a user of Enscape in the past, and what you're about to see, if you've not seen this before, I can only describe as witchcraft. It's quite exceptional. So Gemma, over to you.
Great, thanks Lee. So Enscape provides a really simple yet powerful real-time rendering and virtual reality plugin for Revit and other BIM softwares. And today I'm going to be talking about virtual reality. So the benefits of using VR, some of the system requirements that you'll need to have in place, and talk about how it integrates with BIM. Besides sharing a design on a monitor, like a render, a video, or a walkthrough, a major step towards being able to experience a building before it's being built is through virtual reality. The ability to look around, have a 360-degree view, and to perceive the actual scale of a space is an invaluable aid when reviewing and even creating a design. And the beauty about a tool such as Enscape is that it's incredibly simple to use. You don't have to outsource the creation of your virtual reality experiences. Instead, just one additional click in your BIM software and your VR headset will start displaying your model in Enscape. It's that easy. So now let's take a look at a few of the benefits that you'll find with integrating virtual reality into your workflows. So VR provides you, your colleagues and your clients with a full 360-degree view of your project, which can really improve both communication and collaboration throughout the design process. Since everyone gets to engage and experience a model in a lifelike simulation, it's easier to discuss details that may not be so easy to see and comprehend in another format. And this can prevent misunderstandings from happening in terms of design intent and can lead to better feedback earlier on in the design process. Plus, with Enscape, you can even edit your model and instantly see your changes appear in VR, which means you can incorporate that feedback instantly and see how those changes will impact your space. Another great benefit of VR is that it assists with pre-construction troubleshooting. So clash detection becomes a lot easier when you're able to walk through a space, which can save considerable time and money as you're able to detect clashes before you've even started construction. And virtual reality also provides a real-time interactive experience. So you can interact and experience the space before it has even been built, which is not only great for architects to be able to check their designs, but it's also helpful for other stakeholders in a project to better understand what is being proposed. And we've heard that customers in particular appreciate being able to truly get a sense of a scale and space and better understand a project when they can experience a realistic simulation. And if you were to use a tool such as Enscape for your virtual reality needs, then VR suddenly becomes extremely cost effective since virtual reality is included with every Enscape license. So let's take a look at system requirements. So in terms of some of the system requirements that we recommend for when using VR, we suggest you use at least an NVIDIA GTX 1080, which is a high-end graphics card for a smooth VR experience. For less complex models, the general system requirements in the VR hardware that you're using apply, and you can actually find details of those requirements on our website if you need them, since it really depends on the hardware that you're using. Another thing worth doing is to make sure that you're using up-to-date graphics card drivers, and for real-time VR, use a computer-based headset like HTC Vive, Vive Pro, Oculus Rift, Rift S, or Windows mixed reality headsets. And if you want to explore a 360-degree panorama, then Google Cardboard and other standalone headsets will work just fine. And we have a few blog posts on how to use virtual reality on our website if you're looking for more guidance on this and anything else that I've mentioned here. So I'd encourage you to check those out. So when choosing a VR tool, it's important that you understand how and if it integrates with your BIM software, since some work as a standalone and are not accessible directly from your design software. With Enscape, both real-time rendering and virtual reality are integrated with leading BIM softwares, so Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, and Vectorworks, to name a few. This means that from within your BIM software, you can quickly access your renders and see your project in VR by clicking just one button. It's that easy, and it's the easiest and fastest way to edit your project and see changes as you make them, even in VR. And this is what a lot of our customers absolutely love. So being integrated with software like Revit, it's also easy to export your projects and share your visualizations, whether that's a render or even virtual reality with your stakeholders. So exporting is also possible here, even in VR. So as I wrap up here, by being connected to your BIM software, Enscape is a tool that is designed to be used throughout the entire design process. It provides you with the flexibility to use the presentation medium that works best for you throughout your workflow, whether that's floor plans, photorealistic renders, or virtual reality, all of which can be exported so that you can easily access your work from outside of the office or share your design ideas with clients, contractors, and other stakeholders. So today I've touched on some of the great things that you can do with virtual reality, but if you'd like to learn more or even take out a free trial of Enscape and try it for yourself, then just complete the survey that you'll receive after the webinar. It really is an incredible medium and one well worth exploring. So with that, I'll hand it back to Lee.
Thanks very much, Gemma. Some remarkable sort of insights into Enscape there. Again, as a previous user, really highly recommend doing this. And it ultimately, if you've got BIM content, whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a designer using BIM, this really does allow you to lever much more on those 3D objects than just the typical day-to-day side of BIM. I'm just going to wrap up now with a little bit of a summary. So thanks everybody for attending, first of all. What we've seen today is that visualization can help with clash detection, communicating your design intent in a much more advanced way than you possibly have done before. But it can even help with things like sustainability improvements or clash detection. Just touching very quickly on the sustainability side, if you're looking at passive measures, for example, and trying to maximize the energy efficiency of your building, Enscape allows you to do full renders and VR renders of nighttime or daytime, any time of day that you need. So seeing shadows and how they are cast within a building, maximizing the light, that kind of thing can ultimately be much more well perceived by a virtual reality environment than it can with any 3D modeling or CAD technique that's been used previously. Through BIM, communicating design intent has become much more advanced. So there's more to BIM than meets the eye. We hear a lot of the information side of BIM, which obviously is what's making the industry a lot safer and much more efficient. But the visualization side, again, can do so much more than a lot of people might realize. With Enscape 3D, bringing projects to life through virtual reality is really easy. It is as simple as Gemma said. It's one click of a button, and if you've got BIM content, you can bring it to life instantly. And then lastly, NBS Source, NBS's newly launched platform, has thousands of manufactured BIM-ready products, free to download. So if you're looking at creating these renders, feel free to go and download those and make use of the content that we've been proactively sort of building over this past 10 years. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Just wrap up with a call to action. If anybody has any queries surrounding NBS, you can visit the nbs.com, call us on the number that you can see there on the screen, or if anybody prefers to email, it's info@thenbs.com. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about any NBS solution or BIM-related topic. And then finally, Enscape. If anybody has any queries surrounding Enscape 3D, or as Gemma mentioned, would like to take out a 14-day free trial. Please visit enscape3d.com or contact Enscape 3D either through the questionnaire that's going to be sent out at the end of this webinar or a visit through the contact page on enscape3d.com. I'd like to thank everybody for attending the call. I'd like to thank Gemma for joining us today and presenting what Enscape have to offer. And on that note, have a great day and we'll see you all shortly. Thank you.